I am such a bad boy, and I am mysterious, and you don't know anything about me, and I'm not going to talk to you. You don't get to do one good thing and cancel out all the bad things ever. That should not be how it works. Hello, I'm Jessie the Sleepy Koala because I'm Australian and I'm tired. Today, I would like to do one of those tier ratings, but for tropes that I really dislike. I saw a video this morning by Murphy Napier, who did one of these about 6 months ago, I think, and it looked like so much fun. Because there are a lot of tropes that I do not like whatsoever. I've never done one of these tier lists before. I've always wanted to. This is gonna be my starting one. I have a list of 12 tropes to go through because I got to 10 and realized that there was 2 more that I had to put on this list. Then we have got 5 categories. They are, I can deal, I guess. Did we have to? No. I'm crying, please stop. And never again. Each of these tropes I will sort into one of those 5 categories, and we will see which ones end up where. But before we begin, I do want to say that just because I dislike these tropes doesn't actually mean they are objectively bad, even if I really dislike them and I talk very negatively about them. My opinion is not objective. It's okay if you disagree with me. We can have different opinions on this. But also, most of these tropes can be done well. That's the thing, is books are built on tropes, and it depends how you use them. And sometimes they are used really, really well. And some of these tropes that I'm going to mention, I have seen done fantastically. It's just because they are often done badly that these have ended up on my list. But these can be done very well, or they can be done really poorly. It just depends on how they are written and how an author decides to use them. But on to the tropes. Number 1, resurrections and fake out death. I didn't used to mind this a couple of years ago, and I think it's just because I didn't notice it as much, but the more I read, the more I notice this happening, and the more I hate it. I really hate it. I definitely put resurrections and fake out death into the no category, because I really wish I could just yell no whenever I read them. And the reason I dislike them is it feels like the author wants to get the emotions out of you, but doesn't want to follow through. They are not committing to actually killing a character. It really bugs me if an author is trying to manipulate emotions by getting you to grieve and then take that away from you, and it almost feels like, haha, you didn't need to feel that, why did you feel that? And I really dislike having that feeling, particularly when it's done almost immediately as well. There are some books where you will have a character die, and then 2 pages later, they are resurrected. What was even the point of this? Why did you have to do that? Stop trying to take emotions from me in the form of grief and shock to then just lol jokes it afterwards. And that's what it feels like. It's for shock value. And I really dislike when things are done just for shock value, because I think it cheapens it. And every time a book has a resurrection in it, particularly if there's multiple in a book series, it takes away the stakes and makes it seem like characters are invulnerable, because even if they die, what if they just come back? All these other characters can come back. This bugs me. This really bugs me. The second one, monologuing. This often happens with the villain, but I have recently seen it with a hero as well, and I don't get it. Why are you standing there revealing all of your plans and having your big ha ha ha, I'm better than you moment, when every time it happens, the other person either stands there and listens for no good reason, or what should really happen is they attack or they undermine things because the other person's just standing there talking and revealing all their secrets. I don't know why characters make this dumb decision. Monologuing also goes into the no category because it is another thing that makes me just want to scream no whenever The next one is maybe a bit controversial. This was one that Murphy talked about as well, and it is something that I also really dislike. It's when the basis of a female character's character is that they were raped or sexually assaulted in their past or even in the book. A lot of the time, it feels like it's being used in a very cheap way as a way to lazily have a background that is dark and depressing. So what's the worst thing we can do to a woman? We can rape her. Or if it's in the story, it often feels like it's just a plot point to move things along and make it feel dark and edgy. I don't think that rape should be used like this. Men could have a backstory that is deep and meaningful and has dark or depressing things in it that has helped build their character, but now women just get raped. That's their backstory, and that's how they build their character. This feels really lazy to me. And it's the same thing that Murphy said. It's lazy and bad writing a lot of the time, and it cheapens something that is absolutely awful and cuts it down to not be as emotionally impactful a lot of the time, particularly when it's just used as a stepping stone plot point, and then we move on from it. And that's not what happens. Rape is devastating and can stay with someone for their entire life, but yet, in books, sometimes it happens and it's like, I really hate that. I think it really does a disservice to the people who have gone through this and is a massive slap in the face. I have seen probably 2 things ever that have done it well. One of them was the girl with the dragon tattoo, and I think it was because it really went into the awfulness and the horror and how much it sticks with someone and does not shy away from making you feel awful about it. I do think it goes way too far in its portrayal of things and really should cut things off with like a fade to black much earlier. They could have still gotten the exact same reaction, I think. I couldn't finish that book because it was way too detailed, but I thought that that book did justice to how awful this is. It is literally nauseating to read. Yeah, it should be. It should not be this small thing that you just move past. It is awful. The other one is the 2nd season of Broadchurch, and it's because the whole story is based around this woman's rape and trying to find her rapist. I think when the story is about someone being raped and it looks at the long-term emotional impact, it looks at the way it affects people's families and communities, how it affects individuals, and just how devastating it is overall. That encompasses everything of how does someone deal with this. That is a story that I think did well at treating this as a very serious thing and looking at how it impacts people. I thought that was done well. But you know what? I would be fine to never read another book or watch a TV show or a movie where rape is cheaply used as someone's dark backstory or this plot point to move things along. So this definitely goes into the never again category because I, despite having found some things that I think did justice to it, I never want to read this again. It's done so badly, and I hate the way that it really cheapens what people have had to go through, which is an awful traumatic experience. The next one is redemptions where people have not earned it whatsoever. I put this into the I can deal with it category because I can, but it does still annoy me. Redemption arcs, I don't mind. I like a good redemption arc. It's the bad redemption arcs that I don't like, where you get to the end of the book and the bad guy does this one thing that's treated as a selfless, noble act, and therefore they are now redeemed and a good person. No. No! No! That's not a redemption arc. That's someone who has been selfish and awful the entire time, doing one good deed that doesn't even bring them to baseline of a good person. You don't get to do one good thing and cancel out all the bad things ever. That should not be how it works. But I will read this. It's fine. It just annoys me very slightly. So I guess I can deal with it. Next one, cliffhangers and open endings. I'm just putting these two together because they often seem to be done together. And I actually just read a book that had a very good open ending. Most of them don't, and they really annoy me because with a cliffhanger, so many of them are just open for the entire book. The actual book and its plot and its main story just doesn't get closed and is left gaping wide of this cliffhanger. Why can't you close off that story to an extent to then have that hook afterwards that is a cliffhanger? I've read several books that do this very well. I've also read so many books that don't do this well, and I hate it. It feels incomplete. It feels unfinished. It's disappointing. Sometimes you could just feel it. You can feel it coming up. You're looking at how many pages you have left, and you're just getting more and more disappointed. You know that this book, what happens, the central plot and themes, they're not getting resolved in any way, and it's just gonna be left open. I don't like it. It really makes a book bad for me. Like, I could really like a book, and then the ending is like this, and it just drops it down, and it just spoils everything. Open endings, or open plot lines, I'm going to say, because there was one book that did this not as an ending, but just as a plot line, are very similar, where I think you need to close off that book. You need some resolution before you can leave it open to continue. I just read ReDawn by Brandon Sanderson and Janci Patterson, and this had a beautiful open ending. It was so nicely done. There are good ones out there, but there are so many bad ones. For example, Crooked Kingdom just has these things in the end which are left open. This is the second book of the duology. This is the last one of the duology. It's left open for later series, and I think if you're writing a duology or a trilogy, maybe you should close out that series first. Not just leave things open for maybe potential things. That is so frustrating because I want to know and I'm not going to know because it's the end already. On that note, I put this into I'm crying. Please stop. Please stop. Next one I have heard called Lucky Novice. It's when our main character has no skills whatsoever in something and they pick something up and are immediately great with it. This is just a mild annoyance for me. I really don't mind it that much, so it's very much in the I can deal, I guess category. It just feels a bit like bad writing if someone isn't going to have any training and they are naturally skilled in the thing that they happen to need for the story. It feels very much like plot convenience. I can deal with it, but it's not my favorite. Next one is edgy characters. Sometimes they are done well and you have that dark, mysterious, broody character. And I've definitely read some good ones where I'm like, oh no, I like you too much. But then there's the ones that are just too far and too edgy. They just seem almost caricature-like because it's been pushed so far into the I am such a bad boy and I am mysterious and you don't know anything about me and I'm not going to talk to you ever, but I'm gonna do the things I need to do. It's fine, but this very much goes into did we have to? Because a lot of the time, I don't think we had to. Next one, plot armor. Honestly, this goes back to resurrection and fake out death. If characters have plot armor, it becomes really boring because nothing bad can ever happen to them because they're the main characters or they're the side characters. So they can't die, they can't be hurt. You're never really worried about them if they are. They're gonna be fine because the plot needs them to be. Sometimes this is fine. If you have a book that is meant to be light or fluffy and all the characters have plot armor, I'm fine with that. It doesn't bother me if you are deliberately trying to write a book where no one gets hurt and everyone is happy in the end. Sure. But if you're writing a book that has really big battle scenes in it and a lot of situations where characters might die and they don't, that can be very frustrating because it takes away the tension and it takes away the stakes of the book. It all feels like everyone's wrapped in bubble wrap, so everything will be fine. You don't need to worry about anything. It makes things boring because you know everything's gonna be fine and oh, we've got a big battle scene, but don't worry, we'll just get through it. We'll just pass some time, get through this battle scene, everyone will be fine, it's all good. That is very boring and frustrating to read. So this one goes into the no category because again, I wish I could just scream no when it becomes very apparent that everyone is safe and special and wrapped in bubble wrap. Next one is fixing everything at the end of the book. This is very much a did we have to for me, because a lot of the time things shouldn't be fixed by the end of the book. Sure, like wrap up the plots, but everyone's relationship issues, everyone, like, it's kind of like, I like a happily ever after, but why does everything have to be perfect and neat and tied in a bow? Why can't we still have people who aren't perfectly happy all the time and relationships that are working but still need work and people aren't just completely fine after whatever drama they went through? I can deal with it, but it very much is a did we have to? Because I don't think we have to. I really don't. And I really wish that there were less books that tried to do this. Next one, lack of communication. If you have a plot point that can be solved by two characters having a conversation and they don't, that's just frustrating. That's not fun to read in any way, shape, or form. It's just frustrating. They could have one conversation and it would solve the issue, and they're not having it. So we have to do this long, convoluted thing to go round in a circle or a different shape, I don't know, round in a way to get to the plot point that was like literally right next to each other. And like, this is where we start. If they had a conversation, it'd be like that instead of like this. The entire time, they just never have the conversation that could just cut short what they are trying to do because they know what the answer is and they don't talk about it. So this is also a very much, I'm crying, please stop doing this, please. Next up, we have love triangles. Love triangles are something that can be done well. And I've seen some good love triangles. I've also spoken about love triangles in another video, but a lot of the times they are not done well. They are very obvious about who's getting with who, and it doesn't feel like a love triangle. It feels like a relationship hurdle for people to get over. There is nothing that makes me think that one of these people is going to get with the other person who is making this triangle. So what is the point of that person even being there? There are definitely love triangles that did not need to exist. A lot of the time, it just feels an easy way for an author to put in some sort of relationship drama, except it never really feels like it's much drama because you know what's going to happen in the end. The love triangles that I have seen done really well didn't just go with the, well, this person likes this person and that person, we'll just choose one person. They actually look and try and manipulate the different ways that love triangles can be done. And when that happens, that's super interesting. but the whole choose A or B, who will I choose? That's not very interesting because you know what the choice is going to be. So love triangles very much fall into the no category. Please, no, no, no. Last one is use of mental health conditions. There are, again, some books that use mental health conditions very, very well. Going to highlight Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. This deals with mental health really well, and I love how much is interwoven into not just who the characters are, but into how they act and the actual story. What I don't like is when there are stories like Tell Me Lies, which I did a giant rant on, where mental health is trivialized so that it can be used as a plot device. Like with what I was saying about rape, this really should not be happening because you are being detrimental to real life people who have these mental health conditions. You make it worse when you try and do armchair psychology, when you make the bad guys the ones that have the mental health conditions, or making up that they have mental health conditions. This is bad. You're making things worse. You're making the stigma worse in real life by writing characters that have these serious mental health conditions in a way that will make people put down the book and keep in their mind, oh, this person was really dangerous and they had OCD. Therefore, people with OCD can be really dangerous. Those stigmas are already here. They already exist, and doing mental health badly in a book, trivializing it, or making it a bad character trait or aspect just makes that stigma worse. So this is very much in the never again category, because just stop, never again, stop making it worse. So those were my 12 tropes that I wish to talk about and might have gone on for a little bit too long. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this wasn't controversial, but maybe it was. I don't know. But to end, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.